Hello, students. Today I want to chat about ACT reading, and I'm going to do it using using an ACT reading test, but it'll be a shortened version of one. It's from the PreACT 8-9 exam, which is really geared towards 8th and 9th graders, but we can still use it and learn from it, no matter who you are, no matter what your age, because it's the same notion and it's the same idea of what's going on any type of ACT reading test. So let's just talk about that real quick. So when I'm looking at ACT reading, or the test itself is all about our literacy. How well do we read? How well do we write? How well do we understand what we read and write? Whether it's math, or whether it's the English language, or whether it's science, doesn't really matter. That's what the ACT really is doing throughout the whole entirety of it all. And if you take a look at the test, it's divided up like this. There's the English test, then there's the math test, and you take this big long break, or a break in the middle, and then you come back at it and you start doing a reading test, and when you're done with that, you do a science test. Well, these two are similar because they're dealing with things that you're supposed to know. That is to say, it's dealing with curriculum, matters, and these are things that you can learn, okay? And as a matter of fact, I could give you the rest of the day to work on a math problem, and if you don't know how to work that math problem, it really doesn't matter what kind of time restraints you might have, etc. And the same thing with English. If you don't know how a comma works in English, then again, I could give you the rest of the day. And if you don't know how a comma works, it's going to be kind of tough. Reading and science, though, these are different animals. These are reading comprehension moments. These are, please forgive my handwriting. It's terrible because I'm having to write kind of upright and kind of like I'm facing a whiteboard. I can't write normal, but it's reading comprehension. It's reading comp. That is to say, you read, that's step one, and then step two, you tell what you've read. That's it. That's it. You read and then you tell what you've read. So basically everything that's in there in the reading should be something that you can either pick out almost exclusively, it's almost word for word, or you can just kind of glean from it, or you can infer from it. You come in late at night and your mom is standing there with an angry face. You can infer that maybe because you've come in late past curfew, that you can infer, it doesn't have to be said, line for line that mom's mad, but you can tell. You can put some pieces together and you can tell mom's mad. That's what they're doing in reading and science. You've got to read and then from that, tell what it is that you've read. And it may be explicit or it may be something that you have to kind of put together through clues, but it's still there in the reading. So it's in that spirit that I would say, let's go ahead and attack this reading with that. The first thing that I'm going to do whenever I do a reading is I'm going to come through here and I'm just going to take a look at the questions first. And I'm going to see what they say. And that's what I'm doing right now. Which statement best describes the point of view? So I need to start thinking about that. What is the point of view? Okay. Is this first person, third person, or whatever? So that's that. Let's see. Next question. As it is used in lines 22 through 36, what is the statement? I had something. Okay, so I need to come in here and be thinking about this one here. That's number 2. That's question 2. All right, cool. And then I come back over here. The narrator's description of Yemez Valley landscape, 3rd paragraph. So I need to be thinking about that. Okay, what's this landscape, or how does he feel about it? Okay. And then 4, what is the main purpose of the quote on lines 35 through 36? Let's do that. There's the quote. I need to probably understand what that means. I'm just kind of thinking of things that, again, based on the passage, what is most likely the reason that Yemez Pueblo cannot be reached by bus? Okay, so again, no bus. How come? Or no, again, I'm just going to put that up here. No bus. And then finally, based on the passage, the narrator is moving with his family to Yemez Pueblo. Why? Because why? Okay. And then I get locked in on this. It's called My Home in Yemez. This passage is adapted from the memoir A memoir is somebody who's telling something that they've done. It's almost like an autobiography. This person is named Scott Momedy, something. I'm not going to get locked in on that, but Scott, 1995, Arizona Press. So this must be somewhere out in the Southwest, etc. And then I start reading. Then I go from there and I start reading. Now, a lot of people read differently. I like to read the whole first paragraph. And then from there, I start to speed read. Okay. And you're going to kind of see me do that live here, and just kind of get my ideas what's going on with this reading. Let me just address this too before we get going. If you are paying $65 to take a test for the ACT people, I would highly recommend that you ask for the paper test. Always. The ACT will never get away from a paper test. Now, on the free Arkansas State administered ACT that you're going to take as a junior, that one's going to be the way it is right here, and it's going to be on a computer, and you got to go back and forth and all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of wonky to do that on a computer. It's probably not wonky to do math on a computer. I get that, but when you're reading, I want everything in front of me so I can take notes. And you can still take notes on a computer. You can have a piece of paper sitting next to you. Doesn't matter. Take notes that way. That's cool. But I like everything in front of me. And if I'm paying $65 in the future to take an ACT reading test, I want everything in front of me so I can take notes, so I can do these post signs, these what they call a signpost, where you're writing notes off to the side and things of that nature, etc. I'm saying that out to you, is that's a great skill set to do. Okay. Notice this test again, it's the pre-ACT. It's kind of an easier one. That's why I want to show it to you. You can kind of put it all on one paper here. It's only 4 paragraphs and it only has 6 questions. So this is something that we don't have to toggle back and forth to do a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so let's go back to the way I go about reading this thing. I'll read it first paragraph, and then I just kind of go in and go, okay, what's the next line talking about? What's the next line talking about? And every time when I'm doing an ACT reading, I'm looking for a change. Every time I'm looking for a change. The author was saying this, and at some point there's going to be a flip where it goes into another direction, or a more micro focused direction. Maybe he started out broad and then they get minuscule, or they get finite, or they get tinier on their thought, or they get real exact on their thought, whatever that might be. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here. My parents were offered the 2-teacher day school at Yemez Pueblo, some 50 miles north and west of Albuquerque, due west of Santa Fe, in the canyon country beneath the Yemez Mountains. None of us had ever been there before. My mother went there directly from Coñacito, and my father and I collected our things and set out from Hobbs with the man who my father had hired to move us in a truck, period. A lot of things going on there, but I think I remember a question that said, why did we move out here? Based on the passage, that's 6. Yeah, based on the passage, the narrator is moving with his family to Yemez Pueblo because his family wanted more space to ride horses. That could be it. The family preferred the weather. That could be it. His parents were given a job opportunity. That's specifically it. H. If I go back and read that, that's exactly what that question is. Notice how, too, I want you to really get to where you can do this. There's always only one correct answer. I know that sounds, duh, but sometimes kids will get in here and they'll start arguing with things. And again, this is not a great time to start debate. And again, for those of you students that are debate students, God bless you and all the best, and you're going to do wonderful things. But on the ACT test is not a great time to get into debate. You got to have an answer and you move on. And the best way to do that is start marking out why the other ones are wrong. Okay. This one just happens to be so right because his parents were given a job opportunity. It says it in line 1 right there. It's the whole thing, even though it's choppy and he keeps modifying the sentence and things of that nature. That's why they moved there. Okay. All right. I'm going to continue reading now. So we already got one correct. Here we go. We arrived late at night, having got lost and gone nearly to Cuba, New Mexico on the Farmington Road. I can still see that dirt and gravel road in the light of the headlamps, white moonlight beyond, and the bright stars. Rabbits and coyotes crossed the road. There was no pavement then on our way beyond Bernalillo, and for the last 30 miles or so, a little truck bounced and rattled onto a wild country. I could remember having years before, when I was small, driven with my father across snake flats on the Navajo. In heavy rain or snow, the road was impassable, and we had to wait until late at night when it was frozen hard in order to drive upon it. This goes back to that question, how come you can't get a bus out here? Sounds like you can't get a bus out there because it's just a terrible terrain to drive a bus on, which I believe, where was that question at? Based on the passage, which is most likely the reason that Yemez Pueblo cannot be reached by bus. There's no paved roads leading to town the residents prefer. There is no bridge. The town sits. Right now, my thought is there are no paved roads. B. I'm going to go with that. I don't know if that's the real answer, but it's just something that I remember from the question. And so I wanted to keep that in mind, and I think it's B. Okay, here we go. The next morning, I woke up and there was a great excitement in me, as if something strange and wonderful had happened in the night. I had somehow got myself deep into the world, deeper than ever before. Perhaps I really expected nothing, and so I could not have been disappointed, but I do not believe that. Anyway, no expectation could possibly have been equal to the brilliance and the exhilaration of the autumn New Mexican morning. Outside, I caught my breath on the cold, delicious air. So this paragraph is a switch. We're moving to kind of a rough area, but in the next morning, in the bright day of light, this place was awesome. I'm just thinking, I'm just writing again. I can't write upright like that, but this place, it's exhilaration in the autumn New Mexican morning. Okay. And again, this is that quote. As I think back to the morning, there comes to my mind a sentence in an Isaac Dennison, something. In the highlands, you woke up in the morning and thought, here I am where I ought to be. So let's go back to that quote. It says the main purpose of the quote from Isaac Dennison, number 4 here, is to support the narrator's claim that the higher elevation led to a clear and inspired thinking. Boy, I like that. To help explain the narrator's reluctance. No, he's not reluctant at all. To help express the narrator's feelings after waking up. To help express the narrator's feelings after waking up in Yemez Pueblo. I like that. That's another one. So it's between F and H so far. To illustrate the narrator's familiarity. No, it's not that. It's to support the narrator's claim that higher elevations lead to clear, inspired thinking. Are they talking about higher elevations, or is it just feelings after waking up? I think this is more of the correct answer. You might assume that they're talking about higher elevations, but I don't know. I don't remember reading that. And to me, this is more of the correct answer, H. So there we go. Again, why are things wrong is a great way to attack ACT reading. Okay, the valley slopes down from the north and the south, and the Pueblo lies down in the depths of it, and the east bank. Okay, I'm seeing a change now. This is them moving to this rough area, this place called Pueblo, and then he talks about how, it's awesome. When I wake up in the morning, I've got a clear mind and I know what I'm doing. And then he gets back to the geography. So that's the change. Now he's talking about the geography again of it all. The valley slopes down from north to south, and the Pueblo lies down in the depths of it, and the east bank to the shallow Yemez River. Some 4 miles to the north is a little settlement of canyon, nestled in sheer formations of red rock, and beyond is a long, deep, what is this? San Diego Canyon, rising sharply up to the dark timbered walls of the Yemez Range, to the Valle Grande, which is the largest caldera in the world, and to the summit above, even 1,000 feet, which you can look across to the distance eastward to the Sangre Cristos. Tons of long sentences from this person. Tons of long sentences. No, again, 5-6 lines long. 5 miles to the south is the village. Blah, blah, blah. The junction at San Ysidro is close. Okay. The junction at San Ysidro is close as you can come to Yemez Pueblo in a Trailways bus. State Road 44 runs south, north, and west. near my old home. The east side of the valley is long. Blue Mesa from the Pueblo seems far away, and in my years I could never covered the whole distance between. Though I rode around for 1,000 miles, it may be on horseback. My home in Yemes. Okay. The best statement describes this point of view from what? Well, it's first person. This is the first person. So again, I don't have to read these. These are out. Those are both third person. So I don't even have to read A and B. So now it's between those two. A first person account relating thoughts and feelings about events in the past. Relating thoughts and feelings about events in the past. Thoughts and feelings. A first-person narrator relates thoughts and feelings about events in the present. That's what it is, in the present. That's not it. It's the past. D. As it is used in second paragraph, lines 22 through 36, which is right here, all of this business, I have somehow gotten myself deep into this world. What do you think that means? Well, before I start reading any of those things, I kind of covered up, and I said he feels awesome. He feels exhilarated. He feels awesome and exhilarated about this new thing. So I'm going to find something that smells and rhymes with those words. The narrator is standing at the bottom of a steep valley. The narrator is feeling that he is far away from home. The narrator is doubting. The narrator is experiencing a powerful feeling about a new place. J. All these other things are just wrong. They start to cross themselves out a little bit at a time. J. So now we've just got these other couple of questions to deal with. Well, just one. The narrator's description of the Yemes Valley landscape in the third paragraph is most likely based on, well, we found it here. I rode around for 1,000 miles. It may be on horseback. I never covered the whole distance, but he probably did this through exploring. That's what I can, again, that's that whole thing of again, you came home late at night and you can probably infer that your mom's mad as she's standing there with maybe a rolling pin in her hand or something, and she's wondering where you're at, clicking her hand. She's got a stare on her face. You can, again, these are things that you can't read line for line, but you can pick up the clues that that's probably what happened. And when he says I was on horseback, that's probably how he got around doing things. Okay, so the narrator's description of this place is most likely based on hours that the narrator spent exploring the valley, books that he read, stories that he heard, impressions, no, hours that he did exploring the valley. Hey, boom. So there you go. That's how you do an ACT reading. Passage. And again, notice how I speed things up. I read what I want to read as fast as I can. I'm trying to understand. I read the questions first so they can kind of guide my reading. I also go back to my home in Yemes. All of the answers deal with this person dealing with their home in Yemes. And it's a memoir. That helped me understand a question of past tense, right? This is his memoir. Again, all those clues help me answer these questions and I get them all correct. That's what you can do too, because again, this is about reading comprehension, reading what you see, and then telling what you've read. Word for word sometimes, and sometimes because you put a lot of clues together. It's tough to put those clues together, though, if you don't care about what you're reading. I got to say that for a second, kids. You must get in there and really make friends with the reading. You got to make, even it's boring, you don't care, you're not interested, this has nothing to do with me. Again, you got to fake that. You got to make you got to make it feel like I got to do this. I'm going to become friends with this Scott fella in Yemes Pueblo. I don't know where it's at, but I don't care. I'm going to act like this is the greatest thing in the world. Because if you don't, you're going to miss some of those things. You're going to miss some of those clues they give you, and you're going to be fighting with yourself of what happened. It's the same thing that happens when you're watching a movie and you take your eyes off the movie for a little bit and you're kind of concentrating on something else, and you got to come back and you got to ask somebody, now who's that? Now what's going on there? So what did he mean by that? Well, you're not paying attention. That's what that is. You haven't been paying attention. This is the ACT. it could be it could equal thousands of dollars in scholarships. And I say that I've got a son and a daughter who did pretty well on this test, and my son, he's still at the University of Arkansas right now. He makes money going to college, a lot of because of the ACT test that he crushed in high school after taking it like 6, 7 times. He just kept working on it. So again, pay attention. Put your mind on this thing. When you're in there, get after it. And when you're done, you're done. Throw it away. Go to the soda machine and get yourself a Coca-Cola and a bag of Doritos and celebrate. But while you're in there, concentrate. Take your best brain with you. No excuses. No, I'm bored. This is no fun. Blah, blah, blah. No, take your best brain and see what you can do. I bet you're going to do great. If I can, there you go.